Welcome to howtopam and another Librecad tutorial. Today we're going to do something a little more interesting. We'll work with a few circles and add a few extra layers to our drawing. So let's get started. Let's open up Librecad and let's expand that and let's go set up a drawing. Okay, let's make sure we're on A4 paper, landscape view. The units, let's decrease the precision a little bit. Degrees, let's use, on this particular drawing, let's use centimeters. Okay, let's make sure the grid is on in the orthogonal grid view, and with the scale again we'll use these defaults, and we're not going to bother with the spline on this drawing either. So with that all set up, let's go ahead. We have a layer 0 here. Let's add a few layers. For this drawing we're going to need a construction layer. Okay, we'll have a construction layer, and we'll use, let's leave the lines white for that, and they can be a narrow width continuous. Okay, let's go ahead and use that for the construction. Let's add another layer. Let's call it the actual lines. Okay, and for the lines we'll use something that's blue, I guess we'll use, and we'll use a little bit heavier weight so that we can see what we're doing and make those continuous. Okay, let's add another layer, and let's call it center lines. We're going to have some center lines, and we'll use, for center lines, we'll use that as red, and they can be that weight, but we want to go with a small, here's center lines here, small center line. Okay, and let's add another layer for our dimensions. And our dimensions, we'll put them in something we can see. We can use a smaller line and continuous for that. Okay, and perhaps one more layer, hatch. Okay, so we'll have a layer for the hatch, and so that we can see what's going on with the hatch, maybe we'll put it in green, and it can be a thin weight and continuous. Okay, with all those layers set up, let's go back to layer 0 and put a border on. Now, working with A4 paper, we know the size of that, so to put the border, we can easily go ahead and get our rectangle, and we can mention our first point at 0, 0, and our next point we can go 287 and 200. Okay, let's right click to get off of the tool. Let's bring it all into perspective with the zoom all. There we are, we're in there. Okay, so that's it. Now let's go ahead and save that drawing. We're in our folders here. Let's save it as a lines and circles. Okay, we'll just call this one that for now. and we'll save that. Okay, what we're going to have to do here is we'll start with our line layer, okay, and we're going to want to have a starting point from 0. We don't want to start with our drawing right in 0. We want to get up here somewhere reasonable, and we'll start. If we want to center our drawing, we know that our drawing is 287 millimeters long, or 28.7 centimeters. So basically 14 would be center. So if we're doing a unit that's going to be 10 centimeters, then if we go about 9 centimeters to start with, that would be pretty close to the center of our drawing. So let's start with a line, and let's go 90 units, okay, and 50 units, okay. There we go. That's looking better for us there. Now, the kind of drawing we're doing here is just going to give us some lines. So what we'd like to do is I want to go, and let me go from that point where we were to relative 25 and 0. Okay, there we go. Now our next line is going to go back here at an angle of 45 degrees, and bring a line up here. Let's bring a line up here 15. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go relative 0 in the X and 15 in the Y. Okay, that's where we want to bring that line. Now we want to put a line across here just so we have a datum, a reference line to go with. Okay, so what we can do is we can shoot that line in this direction. Okay, so let's go ahead and make relative, and we're going to go 0 in the Y, but in the X we're going to go, let's say 60 units and 0 in the Y. Okay, okay, now I'd like to release that tool, okay, by pressing the right mouse. Now I'd like to lengthen this tool back here in this direction, and perhaps we'll lengthen it a little more this way as well, because what we're going to do here, let's go ahead and get the lengthening tool, okay, and let's lengthen it a distance of 30 units, okay, and let's go ahead and just touch it here. There we go. Okay, okay, and let's also touch it over here. Okay, that should be plenty. Now this line and this line are only reference lines. So what we'd like to do is perhaps let's go ahead and transfer them over to another. Okay, so let's go ahead and take the properties, and let's take that and let's put it, it's on lines layer, let's put it on the construction layer. Okay, and this one as well, let's put that on the construction layer. Okay, there we go. This is the only line we want on our drawing. These are construction. Now we need to start here again. So what we need to do is snap to endpoints, and we will start with a line again. Now, we're still on our lines layer because all we did was transfer these two construction lines to the construction layer. So let's go ahead and go back to the lines. Let's snap on the end here, right there. Okay. And let's go, we're going to go backwards in the X direction, but we don't know how far yet. So we want to be at 45 degrees. So let's go, let's make it okay. So now we want to be up 45 degrees here. If we look at this line here, down here it tells us it's 0. That tells us where we're going here with our line. Okay? So we want to be now 45 degrees here. So let's go ahead and type in a distance of -20 at, if that was 360, we're coming back 45 degrees, it'd be 315. Okay, so let's go with that. Now, that line will meet with our construction line there. So let's just right click to get the tool off. Let's see what we've got in this area. Let's take our little window here and expand that. And I'm a little short. You see, I went with 20 units and it was a little short. So we're going to have to extend that till it reaches our construction line. Okay, so let's go ahead and choose lengthen. We have it here. And let's put a unit in there of about 5 units. Okay, and let's just go ahead and click on that line, and there we go. Okay, now that is too long, of course, so let's get rid of that tool by right clicking, and let's go get another tool called trim. Okay, and it says select the limiting entity. That would be where we want to trim to. So let's select the construction line here, and let's click on the piece that we desire to save here, and that will take the excess away. Okay, let's right click to remove that tool and release the limiting entity. Now we've got a point here. Okay, so that's exactly what we wanted. We are actually 45 degrees to 15 units high. That's where we're at. Okay, that way we didn't have to calculate the length of this hypotenuse angle. Okay, so let's put it all back in perspective here, and let's move along this way. We'd like to go along this way. If this is 45 degrees, this is 15 units, then this is 15 units. Okay, and if you remember, this is 25 units. So we're going to make a symmetrical piece here. So we're going to run a line along here. But how far does that line have to be? Well, we want it to be 100 units. Okay, our total width is going to be 100 units. We're 25 units here, but we're only 10 units to here. So we'll be the same on the other side. So if we're going to be 100 units total, and we have 10 units here, then we'll have 10 units over here. So that's 10 outside, which would make this line a distance of 80 units. Okay, so let's go ahead and add a line. Enter. We'll find the end of that right there, and we'll go in this direction, which will be 80 units. Shall we say relative 80 units and 0. Okay, that is there. now we're going to have to come down here. Okay. Now, we're going to drop down this way at 45 degrees. Okay. So now again, we don't really know how far we're going to go down this way. So we could extend this line on the construction line. Okay. So last time we transferred the lines, but at this time, if we go to the construction layer, okay, and let's actually let's make a new line. Okay, when we're on the construction here, let's add a line, and let's go to the end. Okay, and let's make a line this way on the construction, which will be relative from there. Let's go 80 units and 0. Okay, now you see what happened there. Okay, I just lengthened the attribute of a line from the lines so it kept the same layer. But now we've actually made a new line here for a construction line. Okay, which is fine. So now let's go back to the lines, and here we are here. Let's continue on with our lines. First point will be right there. Now we're coming down this way. Okay, so we want to be, so here, if we called this 0, then we'll be at an angle of 45 degrees here. Okay, so let's go ahead and write at negative 27 at an angle of 45, and there we go. Okay, now you can see, let's right click, get rid of the tool. We're a little bit long there, so again, let's take that little area there. Okay, and let's go ahead and trim. We have to select the limiting entity here, and let's touch the piece we want to keep, and there we go. Okay, get rid of that tool with the right mouse click, bring it back into perspective, and now we can go ahead and continue on with another line right from the end of this one, and we want to carry on relative. We want to go 25 units and 0. Okay, there we go. Now we'd like to come up here. We'd like to rise up at 0 in the X and 25 units in the Y. Okay, now we'd like to go back this way. Okay, and we'd like to go this way 100 units. So basically we'll go at negative 100 units and 0 in the Y. Okay, and now we'd like to come down and close that off just by snapping. We could go ahead and go straight down, which would be at 0x and negative 25 in the Y, and there you go. Okay, so here we have our construction lines in gray, and we've made our unit here in blue. We need another construction line because we're going to have a pipe on top of here, a circle, and that circle is going to be 70 units, but it has to be on center. So what we really need to do is find the middle here, and to do that we could easily snap on middle. Okay, but because we're going to put in going to put in a center line, we might as well use the center lines. Okay, so let's snap over to the center line here, and let's put our snap on middle. Okay, and let's add a line. Okay, and the first point is going to be the middle right there, the middle of this top bar. We can't use the construction line because it only goes from here to here. It's off center. So there's the middle. Okay, so now these are going to be our construction lines, or our center lines, not construction, our center lines. Let's go ahead and shoot that up this way. Maybe well, we know our pipe is going to be 70 units. Okay, so we want to be at least 70, so let's go 80. So let's go relative 0 in the X, and let's do 85 units. Okay, in the Y. Now let's right mouse click to get a menu, and let's lengthen that, and let's lengthen that by 30 units. Okay, or 35, and let's go ahead and there we are. Okay, that's our center unit. Now what we'd like to do is we have a unit going 70 units on here, and find the center of that will be 35 units up. So what we'd like to do is go back to the construction line here. Let's turn this one off for a moment. Let's go to the construction line, and we'll also find middle. Okay, with a line here, let's add a line tool. Let's go middle. Okay, and let's go 35 units up this way to center. So that'll be relative 0 in the X and 35. Okay, now that's on the construction line. You see, if we shut the construction line off, they're all gone. Okay, so we turn that on. Let's turn on the center lines again, because we're going to be putting a center line right through the center point here. Okay, so let's go ahead again and do a line, and let's start it right there, and let's make it go this way, say 45 units. So we'll be at 0 in the at 45 and 0 in the Y. Okay, let's get rid of that line tool, and let's get a menu for lengthen, and let's lengthen this unit here about 45 units this way. So let's go ahead and put 45 in down here, and let's click on that, and there you go. Okay, now we can get off of the center lines, and if these construction lines are bothering you, let's just turn them off. Okay, and let's go back onto the lines here, and let's go ahead and grab a circle here with center and 2 points. Okay, now here we want to choose a snap to center. You see that right there. Okay, there's our center. So let's snap that. Tells us specify the center. Now it tells us in the command line specify the radius. Well, the radius of that one is going to be 35 units. Okay, now we'd like to make one more circle. Okay, so let's keep that center, and let's specify a radius of another circle, which is going to be 20 units. Okay, let's right click to get off of there. There is our circle. Now if you don't like that center line in there, we can turn that off for a moment. Okay, now we need a support gusset in here, so what we're going to have to do is add a line here. Okay, so this is we'll turn on snap to endpoint, and we'll grab a line, make sure we're on the lines, snap on endpoint, and that went to snap on endpoint right there. That's the endpoint of the center line. Okay, so we can go ahead and just take that. Okay, and we'll right click, let's add another line over here, snap on end and snap on end. You see the snap on end, there is a center point here which acts as the end right across, so we snap on that. Okay, and let's release that tool. There you go. There is what we are drawing. Okay, now one other thing that we may like to do is, because this is the end of a bushing, we could go on to hatch here, and let's choose a hatch here. Okay, and to hatch that, we want to click the area that we're going to hatch inside. Okay, there we go. Now once we've got those highlighted, press the enter key and the hatch comes up. Now here we have a picture of what kind of hatch we'd have, okay, in the green color, and that would actually work for what we're doing. It's at a scale of 1. Let's go ahead and choose that, see what it looks like. There, that works very well for us. Okay, if we don't like that color, we could easily change the color by modifying the attributes. Okay, if that green's a little hard to look at, maybe we could do something in the brown. Okay, might be a little easier to look at. Again, if you don't like that, we'll maybe go to a darker green. There. Okay, something that's not so bright. Now that looks like the end of a bushing because it looks like a bandsaw is cut through that. So that's good. Now, what we need is some dimensions. And we had dimensions in here. So the first thing we might want to do is dimension our pipe here, our bushing. So let's go ahead and get some dimensions. Now, for those dimensions, we're going to need a radius dimension. Okay? Now, we don't know where to go from. It says select an arc. So we're going to select this one right here. Okay? Okay. Specify the dimension line where we'd like it. That's good right there, eh? Okay. So now it tells us to go ahead and specify another one. Now let's put on the free snap so we can move these dimensions around. Let's specify this arc. Okay. And the dimension line. You see, with free snap I can move that. Now you see we can put it where it's easy to read, perhaps. Okay, there we go. Okay, that tool's finished. Now let's go ahead and right click to release that tool, and let's get another tool. Let's go with aligned dimensions. Okay, from there to there. Okay, again from here to here. Okay, we could also be in here to here. Now we'd like to know this distance, wouldn't we? But we could tell that with an angle and a distance here. Okay, so in order to do that, we're going to need a different tool because I can't measure this here with the aligned. So let's get rid of that, and let's go and get a horizontal tool. That'll let me measure from here to here. Okay. Just like that. Now we could go ahead and we could get some angles, which will be angular. Okay, and we choose this line and this line. Okay, 45 degrees. So here we have all the dimensions we would need. We don't want to put in any extra dimensions that were not required. They just clutter the drawing. Okay, so let's turn on our center lines. Okay, we've got that. We've got our dimensions. We have the construction lines in there. We can leave them off. Okay, and there we have it. So let's go ahead and save that. And let's just close that out. And I want to open it again and see what it looks like. We called that lines and circles. And there you go. Okay. You want to look at it with the grid off. Okay. And that, we can bring it into perspective. And that is what you just created. Okay. That's a wonderful little piece with a few extra deals on it. So I hope you enjoyed that little tutorial on Librecad by howtopam. Thank you for watching this tutorial by howtopam.